The Galactic Council's final warning reached Earth like a cold draft slipping beneath a locked door. Their message held no warmth, no diplomacy, only a sterile command delivered by species who have forgotten the very meaning of conflict. They demanded inspections, disarmament, and compliance with their interstellar laws. And above all, they expected Earth to kneel. For 7 straight days, humanity said nothing. No counter-threat, no apology, not even a whisper. Behind sealed doors, the United Terran Directorate argued until dawn. Civilians panicked across news networks, begging for peace. Some politicians insisted on negotiation. Others swore Earth could not withstand a war against a civilization spanning thousands of systems. But the silence from Earth's leaders was deliberate. On the 8th day, humanity finally spoke. The response didn't come from an ambassador or a diplomatic envoy. It was broadcast from the Astral Assembly Hall, where Commander Grant Maddox, scarred from decades of conflict, stood alone at the central podium. Every major species in the galaxy watched the transmission live. Maddox did not lower his gaze. He did not read from a script. "We received your warning," he said, voice deep and steady. "Here is ours." A pause followed, sharp enough to cut air. Earth does not bow. Earth does not forget. And Earth does not forgive threats. The camera zoomed in as he leaned closer to the mic. "From this moment forward, your transmission is considered an act of hostility. If you want compliance, come and take it." He ended with 4 words that shook every listening world. "This is war." The signal cut. Not jammed, not disrupted, ended by Earth's own hand. The galaxy trembled. For centuries, the Council had bullied weaker worlds into submission. They assumed Earth was simply another primitive race to corral, a Tier 2 civilization with spirit, but no real bite. They thought humans could be frightened into obedience like all the rest. But humans did not evolve in comfort. They evolved on a death world. Within 48 hours, 3 Council monitoring stations near the border systems disappeared from every star chart. No escape pods, no distress signals, no survivors. The Council scrambled to assemble their fleets, but Earth's military had already vanished into deep space, its ships drifting like ghosts in the dark, invisible to most known sensors. Commander Maddox had been elevated to Supreme Commander. The UNS Hellstorm, Earth's newest dreadnought, served as his throne of war. It was a battleship designed in the shadows, built from alloys no alien engineer could replicate. Fueled by a drive the Council believed Earth was too primitive to construct. They were wrong about many things. While alien species debated policies and protocols, Earth had been preparing, not for exploration, not for diplomacy, for survival. The moment Council Fleet Alpha advanced toward the Vega line, Maddox stood over the tactical display, watching their formation. 12 cruisers, half a dozen destroyers, and, laughably, a diplomatic escort ship. They brought ambassadors into a war zone. Harper, his second-in-command, scoffed. "Do they think guilt is a weapon?" Maddox didn't answer immediately. He simply stared at the holographic spread, jaw tightening. "Target the escort vessel first," he finally said, "then shatter the rest." Harper hesitated. "Sir, that will escalate the conflict beyond." "They escalated at the moment they threatened Earth," Maddox replied. "We answer with fire." Outside the Hellstorm's armored hull, the stars waited in perfect, silent tension. Earth's first counterstrike hovered like a coiled serpent, ready to strike. This war wouldn't be fought with honor or speeches. It would be fought with precision, with shadows, with absolute, overwhelming violence. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity truly was. Not a minor civilization, not an obedient species. A storm, and Maddox was its center. Council Fleet Alpha crossed the Vega line with all the arrogance of species that had gone unchallenged for centuries. Their formation was textbook perfect, engines glowing in symmetrical harmony, weapons calibrated with ceremonial precision. To them, this wasn't a battle. It was a reminder, a simple demonstration of dominance meant to frighten humanity back into compliance. They still believed Earth would fold. In the command deck of the UNS Hellstorm, Maddox stood motionless, his scarred hands clasped behind him. Around him, officers worked with disciplined urgency, updating tactical feeds and monitoring stealth signatures. No one raised their voice. No one hesitated. Earth's finest didn't need inspiration. They needed only orders, Maddox's orders. Council fleet is attempting to hail us again, Harper said. Let them, Maddox replied. The bridge speakers crackled. A serene alien voice, its tone dripping condescension, filled the room. This is Fleet Alpha under the authority of the Galactic Council. Earth vessel, lower your weapons and prepare for inspection. Continued disobedience will be met with corrective action. The message ended with typical council detachment. No anger, no fear, just the assumption of superiority. Harper glanced toward Maddox. Do we reply? Maddox didn't look up. No. Harper blinked. Sir, we respond, Maddox said, in 27 minutes. His voice was icy calm, the kind that froze the blood of even seasoned soldiers. Maddox turned away from the comm panel and stepped into the adjoining tactical bay. Inside, 24 strike captains awaited him, men and women forged from the harshest conflicts humanity had survived. Maddox didn't waste time. The Council believes Earth is like every world they've tamed, he began, his tone low but resonant. They think we will break under pressure. They think we fight like them, slow, predictable, fearful of chaos. A few captains exchanged grim smiles. They are wrong, Maddox continued. We are the descendants of centuries of war. We bled for every inch of our survival. We evolved not on comfort worlds, but on a planet that tried to kill us every day. His gaze swept the room. Today, we teach them a lesson. No cheers followed, only tightly clenched fists and silent resolve. The room emptied as captains rushed to deploy their strike orders. Maddox returned to the bridge. All assets in position? He asked. 3 stealth cruisers flanking the enemy, Harper said. Hunter drones closing in from the Oort cloud. Kill satellite is charging. Maddox nodded once. Good. The countdown ticked away. 26 minutes. 25. 24. By the 1-minute mark, a heavy silence settled over the crew. The Council fleet glowed brightly on the holomap, closing in with mechanical confidence. Harper whispered, Sir, they really don't think we'll strike first. That's why we will, Maddox said. The final seconds appeared. Midnight. Maddox uttered one word. Fire. The galaxy changed in an instant. A tungsten slug from Earth's hidden satellite tore across space and pierced the Council's diplomatic vessel like a needle puncturing glass. The ship vaporized without so much as a dying scream. The Council fleet staggered. Then the Hellstorm unleashed its fury. Stealth cruisers decloaked and fired particle beams that sliced through alien hulls like red-hot blades. Drones swarmed from the dark, drilling into engines and detonating internal systems. The Hellstorm's warheads fragmented mid-flight, raining hypersonic darts that shredded shields and split ships open like ruptured fruit. It wasn't a battle. It was an ambush of biblical proportions. Alien cruisers buckled. Destroyers shattered. Debris fell like metallic rain. Council formations collapsed before they could even coordinate a response. One ship managed to break formation and flee. Harper turned. Should we pursue? Maddox shook his head. No, let that one live. Why? So they can tell the galaxy what they saw. When the smoke cleared, Council Fleet Alpha was gone, reduced to drifting wreckage and silent hull fragments. Earth's fleet sustained 0 losses. Harper stared in disbelief. They'll come back with everything they have. Full-scale retaliation. Maddox nodded once. Good, he said. Saves us the trouble of hunting them down. Humanity had just declared itself a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. And Maddox was far from finished. The aftermath of the Vega Line massacre spread across the galaxy faster than any council broadcast ever could. Entire networks lit up with emergency signals. Fleets scrambled. Worlds that had grown complacent under council rule suddenly remembered fear. Not fear of the council. Fear of Earth. Deep beneath the mountains of Patagonia, in a bunker lined with obsidian black screens and ancient Cold War steel, a meeting unfolded. No politician sat at this table. Only the architects of Earth's war machine. Commanders of black projects. Covert directors. Leaders from old world militaries absorbed into United Terran Directorate. The room was silent until Commander Grant Maddox's hologram stabilized at the head of the table. His presence alone carried weight, cold, unwavering, edged with the intensity of a man who had lived most of his life in conflict. "We started this war," Maddox said without preface. "We will end on our terms." "What's the final objective?" someone asked. Maddox didn't blink. "Victory. Total and irreversible." He didn't need to define the word. Everyone in that room understood Maddox's definition of victory. One where Earth never bowed again. One where the Council's power fractured beyond repair. While the meeting continued, Maddox stood aboard the UNS Hellstorm, reviewing footage of the Council's few surviving ships limping across space. Their hulls flickered with dying power. Some vessels were cracked open like eggs. Others drifted in silence, engines extinguished. There was no satisfaction in Maddox's eyes, only calculation. They needed a deeper cut. Earth's retaliation needed to strike not just the Council's fleets, but the foundation of their rule. He keyed open a classified file, Operation Iron Gospel. A list of targets appeared, communication hubs, surveillance archives, colony coordination centers. But at the top of the list, highlighted in crimson, was a name that made even veteran officers swallow hard. Veltrix Prime, Central Intelligence Archive. The Council's brain. Its memory. Its power. "Set course," Maddox ordered. Harper stared at the glowing marker. Veltrix is buried in a lunar crust. Thousands of defense platforms. No infiltrations ever recorded. "Everything breaks when you hit it hard enough," Maddox replied. The Hellstorm entered silent warp, slipping through illegal corridors of space-time, regions outlawed for centuries due to gravitational instability. But Earth had learned long ago that forbidden paths were simply unused advantages. For 40 hours, the Hellstorm drifted through the uncharted dark. No sensor pings, no star maps, just the ghostly hum of engines bending the void around them. Maddox didn't rest. He rarely did. When he stepped onto the bridge, Harper gave the latest update. Subspace concealment stable. 8 hours until Veltrix Prime. No detection. Maddox nodded, eyes fixed on a rotating hologram of the archive complex, a labyrinth of subterranean vaults protected by layers of shielding and automated sentries. "We blind them here," he said. "Once Veltrix falls, the Council loses its eyes." Harper hesitated. "Sir, this mission is suicide for any infiltration team." Maddox turned to him, gaze hard enough to cut steel. "Everything worth doing is..." 3 hours later, Maddox stood before 14 soldiers in a dim chamber lit only by red maintenance lights. They wore matte black armor, no insignias, no identifying marks. Ghost Unit. These were men selected from Earth's darkest programs, specialists in zero-G infiltration, sabotage, and neural warfare. Soldiers whose existence was officially erased. Their leader, a stone-faced man named Riker, stepped forward. "No extraction?" Riker asked, not fearful, simply confirming. "No extraction," Maddox replied. "Your mission is to breach the core, retrieve what you can, and plant the virus. Once the attack begins, you'll have 90 seconds before the facility collapses." Riker didn't flinch. "Then we make them regret ever studying us." There were no farewells, no handshakes. Ghost Unit didn't believe in such things. Minutes later, they were sealed inside a stealth drop pod, a smooth, black capsule designed to punch through defenses without leaving a trace. Maddox watched the launch sequence. No expression, just a slight tightening of his jaw. "Pod launching in 30, Harper reported. Maddox didn't look away from the capsule. "They know what they're dying for," he said quietly. The pod fired like a silent bullet into the void, vanishing into the dark, streaking toward the Council's most sacred stronghold. As it disappeared into the shadow of Veltrix Prime's moon, Maddox turned away. Earth's war was no longer about defense. It was transformation, reshaping the galactic order by force. And Veltrix would be the first world to feel the shift. Veltrix Prime came into view like a dark, metal scar against the moon it was carved into. No lights, no windows, just layers of armored plating, defensive towers, and sensor nets interwoven so tightly that most infiltration attempts ended before they even began. The council believed Veltrix was untouchable, a fortress of intelligence, a vault of secrets. But the council had never fought humans in a war of shadows. The UNS Hellstorm dropped out of warp without a single sensor picking it up. Its distortion fields bent light, heat, and gravity, leaving nothing but a ripple in the void. Council scouts patrolled the outskirts, unaware that death drifted right past them. Defense grid ahead, Harper announced. They'll scan any vessel that gets within 50 kilometers. Not us, Maddox replied. Activate phase blackout. A low hum reverberated through the ship. The Hellstorm silhouette flickered and vanished from sight entirely. The assault began before the Council could even detect danger. A pair of Earth's deep space rail guns, hidden a month ago under the cover of trade convoys, activated from opposite sectors. Their tungsten slugs fired simultaneously. Two defense cruisers erupted in silent explosions before their crews even sensed the incoming attack. A third vessel tried to flee, engines flaring in panic. A hyperspectral missile, invisible to most known sensors, lanced through its hull. The ship folded in on itself and vanished into molten debris. Veltrix Prime finally sounded the alarm. Too late. Drop pod entering descent corridor, Harper said. Good, Maddox murmured. Begin phase 2. The ghost unit's pod knifed through the moon's crust like a spear. No boosters. No heat trail. Just raw velocity. Alarms across the facility screamed as unknown seismic anomalies triggered emergency shutters. Inside the pod, Riker and his men didn't speak. They breathed steadily, eyes fixed forward, waiting for impact. The pod struck a maintenance shaft with enough force to dent steel. In an instant, the ghosts were out, moving like shadows, weapons suppressed, visors glowing faintly with tactical overlays. Veltrix Prime was a maze of sterile corridors and humming servers. Thousands of data chambers stacked in spirals deeper than most planets' core mines. Every wall was lined with surveillance nodes. But surveillance systems couldn't track what they couldn't see. Within minutes, the ghosts reached the first vault. The guards didn't have time to shout. No alarms were triggered. The team advanced through levels of secure data rooms, leaving only silence behind. Back on the Hellstorm, all external feeds from the pod went dark. Harper frowned. Signal lost. They've gone beyond transmission range. Maddox didn't react. That means they're inside. Inside Veltrix's central chamber, Riker stood before the main intelligence core. Thousands of data spires rose like crystal towers glowing with centuries of stored knowledge. Cultural archives, military inventories, diplomatic histories, classified operations, and Earth-related files. Thousands of them. Every secret the Council collected on humanity. Riker linked the virus drive into the core terminal. Lights flickered. Files began corrupting on a massive scale. He muttered under his breath, "For everyone you underestimated." The virus accelerated, devouring security protocols, melting through layers of encryption the Council believed impenetrable. Then the AI triggered its last resort. Facility purge. Gravity failed. Alarms blared. A shockwave shook the entire installation as internal vacuums activated, trying to erase the breach by force. Riker activated the Havoc seeds, small doomed devices engineered for a total erasure. They detonated in synchronized bursts, collapsing key structural nodes. The last thing Riker saw was a torrent of collapsing data streams, and the moon's crust cracking. He smiled. Then the vault imploded. On the Hellstorm, Harper stared at his console. Core collapse confirmed. Ghost unit gone. They completed the mission, Maddox said. His voice didn't waver. Harper looked up. What now? Maddox stepped toward the viewport. The moon was cracking open, releasing plumes of light and molten debris. Veltrix Prime wasn't just compromised, it was dying. Now, Maddox said, we move on the Council's heart. You're aiming for the core ring? Harper asked, stunned. That's their political sanctuary. Not anymore, Maddox answered. Now it's a target. Veltrix Prime collapsed behind them, the moon folding inward like a dying star. The Council's intelligence center, its pride, its power, was gone, and Earth was no longer just retaliating. It was conquering. The core ring had always been untouchable, a circle of 8 worlds forming the political heart of the Galactic Council. Every law, every treaty, every enforced peace had been signed beneath its towering spires. The Council taught the galaxy that the ring was sacred, unassailable, protected by shielding so dense that even stray comets vaporize on contact. But the Council had never faced an enemy like Earth. The UNS Hellstorm emerged from warp on the outskirts of the ring, silent and unannounced. No escort, no allies, just one ship and the weight of an entire planet behind it. Current readings show all ring planets at maximum alert, Harper reported. Carriers mobilizing. Shield grids fully active. They're preparing for a siege. Maddox studied the holographic projection. The ring glowed like a fortress of ancient gods. But Maddox had already killed one myth today. They think we'll attack head-on. Maddox said, they're wrong. He tapped open a secondary star map, showing a forgotten trade lane, Route 9. The corridor connected agricultural moons to the inner ring, and while abandoned centuries ago, the wormhole infrastructure remained. Send a distress freighter signal through Route 9, Maddox ordered. Make it look damaged. Harper's eyes widened. We're baiting them? We only need one scout ship to open the corridor, Maddox said. 20 seconds is enough. Minutes later, a Council scout vessel arrived at the edge of the wormhole. It detected the false distress call, scanned the area, and drifted closer. And a pack of Earth Hunter drones swarmed it like sharks drawn to blood. The scout ship vanished. The wormhole corridor remained open for 23 seconds. It was enough. Through the shimmering tunnel, Earth's wolves, sleek subspace corvettes designed for stealth strikes, slipped through, not built to hold territory, built to decapitate leadership. Their target, Araridex, capital of the core ring. Araridex was breathtaking from orbit, a world of glass spires, crystalline bridges, and emerald oceans. Its cities were ancient marvels untouched by war for millennia. The wolves descended upon it like a silent storm. Torpedoes detonated along the crust. Earth's assault teams infiltrated the ground-level command centers. Shockwaves rippled through the capital as structures that stood for thousands of years trembled. Civilians evacuated in panic, but almost no one fought. Harper watched the incoming live feeds from the strike teams. This isn't a battle, he whispered. It's collapse. Maddox didn't look away. Good. He activated the Hellstorm's orbital rail guns, 3 Titanic cannons capable of firing skyscraper-length rods at relativistic speeds. Target their symbols, Maddox said, not their strength. Harper blinked. Sir, Maddox's voice hardened. We destroy their pride. Their myths. The rail guns fired. 3 blazing streaks tore through the atmosphere, vaporizing everything in their path. They didn't hit bases. They didn't hit military targets. They hit what mattered more, the halls of Accord, the treaty bridge, the beacon tower. Centuries of political power erased in seconds. From orbit, it looked like a shower of falling stars. When the dust settled, Araridex no longer looked like a capital. It looked like a fallen empire. Across the galaxy, fear erupted. Some species declared neutrality overnight. Others rebelled against council governors, refusing to be punished for a failing empire. A few secretly celebrated. Worlds oppressed for generations finally tasting revenge. On Earth, reactions were mixed. But in the Director Command bunker in Alaska, Admiral Creed watched the destruction in silence. His jaw tightened. His heart didn't beat with victory. This isn't strategy, Creed muttered. This is domination. A young officer said quietly, but he's winning. Creed turned sharply. Winning isn't the same as saving us. As reports poured of entire worlds surrendering, others revolting, and some simply falling into chaos, Creed felt a cold dread settle in his bones. Maddox isn't stopping the council, Creed said. He's replacing them. Silence fell across the bunker. Creed straightened. We need to act. His aide stared. You're moving against Maddox? Creed's voice was iron. I'm reminding him that Earth still has a conscience. Meanwhile, aboard the Hellstorm, Maddox observed the core ring flickering with failing shields. Entire power grids were collapsing due to Veltrix's destruction. The Council's infrastructure was unraveling faster than they could repair it. Harper approached him quietly. "It's over," he said. "The ring has nothing left to throw at us." Maddox shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "Not yet." He turned toward the map of the remaining Council worlds. "We find the last one still pretending they can negotiate," Maddox said. "And we remind them." His eyes darkened. "Earth does not negotiate." Lyrics had always been the Council's jewel, a serene planet of shimmering cliffs and ancient glass cities untouched by war for millennia, a world of diplomacy, tradition, and calm. But as Earth's fleets approached, calm evaporated. Lyrics' last surviving leaders assembled in their summit hall under the trembling glow of emergency lights. Akeaton, the final member of the Triumvirate, stood before a room full of terrified representatives. His once regal posture sagged beneath the weight of desperation. They knew Earth wasn't coming to negotiate. They had seen what happened to Araridex, to Veltrix, to every fleet sent against Maddox. When the Hellstorm descended into orbit, Lyrics activated its shields, then powered them down almost immediately, not out of surrender, out of acceptance. A single transmission came through, voice only. "There is no fight left," Akeaton said. "If you burn Lyrics today, you destroy the last voice willing to speak to you. What is it you're trying to build?" The message ended without an answer. Moments later, Commander Grant Maddox boarded a dropship bound for the Summit Hall. His escort ship sliced through the sky in silent arcs. Not firing, intimidating. When Maddox stepped onto Lyrics' marble platform, the air was thick with tension. The alien leaders stood like statues awaiting judgment. Akeaton approached, trembling. "What now, human?" Maddox didn't reply. He reached into his long coat and placed a data spike onto the podium. "This," he said, "is every atrocity the Council committed against Earth and a dozen other worlds. Famines you engineered, genocide disguised as population management, cultural erasures you hid in the archives." Akeaton's face darkened with shame. "You will read this," Maddox continued, "to every system, every colony, every world you once ruled." "They'll kill us," Akeaton whispered. "They should. And if we refuse?" Maddox's eyes turned to sharpened steel. "Then Lyrics burns." The silence that followed was absolute. Akeaton accepted the data spike. Across the galaxy, screens lit up with the Council's forced confession. Entire species erupted in fury. Some revolting, some abandoning the Council forever. Mobs stormed outposts. Flags were torn down. Movements ignited. Earth's black insignia spread like a wildfire. But Maddox didn't celebrate. He simply returned to the Hellstorm and stared at Lyrics from orbit. "You broke them," Harper said softly. "No," Maddox murmured. "They were already broken. I simply removed the illusion." Before Harper could respond, a transmission came through, encrypted, urgent. "It's from Admiral Creed," Harper said. Maddox's eyes narrowed. Creed's message was short. "Return to Earth. You are being recalled under Article 9. Stand down." Harper looked at Maddox. "Sir, they're accusing you of overreach." Maddox simply turned away. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "We're going home." Earth. The Hellstorm descended into Earth's atmosphere under blackout protocol. No greetings. No welcoming banners. The Director Command had sealed itself off, surrounded by armored soldiers loyal to Creed. On the landing platform, Creed stood waiting with a squad of guards. "Maddox," Creed called, "you are to surrender your rank immediately. Earth will not be ruled by fear." Maddox approached, stopping inches away. "You lock your doors," he said, "after I kept this planet alive. You burned worlds." Creed shot back. "You shattered civilizations. You're not protecting Earth. You're building an empire." Because no one else had the spine to. The tension between them was a storm waiting to break. But the break didn't come from Creed. It came from the people. Across Earth's military network, a single message appeared. Maddox's face with the words, "The war isn't over until Earth owns the peace." The impact was immediate. Entire divisions defected. Orbital stations refused Creed's commands. Fleets went silent, and awaited Maddox's orders. For the first time, Earth felt the tremor of civil war. Creed saw the collapse happening in real time. If you take one more step, he warned, you will split this planet in half. Maddox didn't blink. Then maybe half the planet needs splitting. The rebellion. But Maddox wasn't the only one with followers. Deep beneath the Atlantic, a resistance, the first in years, had formed, led by Lieutenant Maya Halden, one of Maddox's former soldiers. The rebels uncovered a buried truth, a full copy of Riker's final logs, including Maddox's private order. No extraction, no witnesses. The rebels broadcast the files across Earth and its colonies. Within minutes, the myth of Maddox cracked. Mutinies erupted. Fleets refused his authority. Even the Hellstorm turned its guns inward in silent warning. Earth chose its side, and it wasn't Maddox. The fall. Maddox stood alone in the Sovereign Tower as rebel forces breached the perimeter. Maya Halden confronted him in the command chamber, unarmed, rain-soaked, unflinching. "You did this," she said quietly. "You broke the galaxy, and now you're breaking us." "I kept Earth alive," Maddox growled, "at the cost of Earth's soul." Their standoff ended without violence. Maddox lowered the security grid himself. No resistance, no speech, no fight left in him. "It ends here," he whispered. "Yeah," Maya said, "it ends here." Exile. The tribunal didn't execute Maddox. They didn't imprison him. They did something worse. They erased him. His rank, his identity, his authority, gone. He was exiled to the rim, alone, nameless, a ghost drifting between forgotten stars. Some called him a monster. Others called him the savior who went too far. History refused to decide. And Maddox? He never spoke again of the war. But the galaxy would always remember the moment Earth was threatened and how Earth answered with fire.